One consequence of President Trump's early departure from the G7, a major consequence for Australia, is that his planned first bilateral meeting with Anthony Albanese will not go ahead. Our Prime Minister once had this to say about Donald Trump.
We have an alliance with the US, we've got to deal with him, but that doesn't mean that you're uncritical about it. He scares the out of me.
More recently, after a couple of phone calls since Trump's election win last year and waiting 6 months for a meeting, Albanese was looking forward to the crucial meeting with the Commander-in-Chief of our major security partner and was even planning to reissue an invitation for the President to visit here down under.
We'll no doubt discuss this tomorrow, and I won't preempt that, but the President of the United States would always be a welcome guest in Australia.
But now, after the Prime Minister flew halfway around the world, had to join the lesser dinner while the G7 leaders dined, of course, with President Trump, and of course with Albanese steeling himself for his 20 minutes with the man he calls scary, well, Albo has now been stood up. Trump has bigger issues and more important priorities just now, and Australia's efforts to escape punitive tariffs and seek reassurance over the AUKUS deal will have to wait. This is awkward for Albanese and just a little embarrassing, even though Trump's priorities are understandable. There was no effort from the US to move the meeting forward or squeeze it in before the President left. And you have to ask yourself, why would President Trump go out of his way for the Australian Prime Minister just now? When I served as Chief of Staff for Foreign Minister Alexander Downer in the Howard government, Australia's voice mattered. We stood up for our values and we tried to work with the US, who shared those values. There's no relationship that's more important for this nation, but Albanese has treated it with disdain. Apart from old abusive comments towards Trump from Albo and many of his ministers, Australia has put itself at odds with the US. The Albanese government has stuck with the doomed Paris net zero agenda, even when the US has called time on it. And when US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth said Australia should boost its defence spending, Albanese gave him short shrift instead of sensibly engaging on an issue of critical importance to our alliance partners. And most importantly, on the pressing strategic and security issue of the moment, Albanese has failed to back Israel and failed to back the US in its support for Israel. Albanese and his Foreign Minister Penny Wong have taken anti-Israel stances at the United Nations. They've slapped sanctions on democratically elected Israeli politicians, and they've even refused to repudiate the disgraceful and illegitimate warrants issued by the International Criminal Court against the Israeli Prime Minister and Defence Minister. So Australia has repeatedly chosen not to align itself with US strategy. And as if that's not bad enough, even over the past few days, as Israel has responded to constant attacks orchestrated by Iran and directly from Iran, and after Iran again refused to abandon its nuclear weapons program, Israel attacked Iran, and Australia has plonked itself firmly on the fence. The US strongly supported Israel and demanded Iran abandon nukes, the right and the strong option. And Australia has just sat on the fence. That's not the diplomacy of a reliable ally. History is unfolding and Australia doesn't know where it stands. Well, many of us do, but our Prime Minister and our government don't. If Australia stood firm publicly with the US and Israel, defending values of democracy, freedom and sovereignty, it would be a critical player on the world stage and highly valued by the US. But Albanese has made Australia invisible and irrelevant, just part of the weak mob of nations that take their diplomatic cues from the EU and the UN. So why would Trump go out of his way to meet Albo? What could he possibly get out of it?